Alright guys, welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. This is Ali Plays, and today we're going to be doing our final episode for the roles on the Fire Knight's Castle series. So we're doing rare champions. But this video I'm actually going to talk about one champion that is an epic, but he is free to play because you get him once you first start the game. So the role we're going to be talking about is reflect damage / counter. So we're looking for champions that are able to place extra hits when the Fire Knight takes a turn. So for counter, when he AoEs, you want to attack him. There is no AoE counters for rares, only epics. So if you have a Skull Crusher or Valkyrie or Martyr, so you want to use those champions. But if you don't have them, this is the video for you. And the reason why we're doing reflect damage is if you can get a champion that can place an AoE reflect damage on your whole team, when the Fire Knight AoEs, you basically get five hits on his shield. So the shield's gonna have 5 durability left, so it's gonna be much easier to take down. And then you don't have to use as many multi-hitters. So yeah, the first champion I want to talk about is Magister. So Magister is not good, but he does kind of cover this role. He also has heal reduction. It's only 50% heal reduction. But the role that we're looking for is this. He plays Revive on Death and reflect damage buff on a target ally for 2 turns. The bad thing is it's only on one ally, but he does heal other allies by 10%. So he is not very good. Honestly, don't use him. Don't use him. But I'm just talking about him because he does fit this role. But he's pretty low ranked on this list. All right, next guy is Grappler. So Grappler is A3. He places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of their HP and a 15% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. So this ability is very good. It's an AoE version, so that's what you're going to be looking for. So you can get a champion like that. This guy also provides you with a double hit, so he's a multi-hitter as well, covers multiple roles. And he also places a weaken. But if the shield's up, that's not going to land. Yeah, he has another multi-hit that each has a 50% chance of placing 2.5% poison debuffs for 2 turns. So he's a pretty solid choice. If you don't have any other champions that I'm going to be talking about later, you can use Grappler. So the Dwarf faction actually has 2 champions and they're right side by side each other. You have Runic Warder. So Runic Warder has a reflect damage and continuous heal buff for all allies for 2 turns. So his is very good. He's a support. He's not even a support, but his ability supports your allies by recovering their HP. And he has AoE reflect damage. He has a double hit that can place a 50% decreased attack. So that is amazing. And he also has a double hit on his basic attack. So he's a very, very good rare champion for Fire Knight. And the next guy is Stout Axeman. So Stout Axeman is actually not as good as Runic Warder. So his A2, he places a reflect damage buff only on himself for 2 turns. And he does have an 85% chance of placing it on a random ally for 2 turns. So I guess he places 2, so he's not as bad as Magister. And he also has a chance of placing Provoke on 2 random enemies for 1 turn, so that might be helpful for the first 2 waves. His basic attack is just a singular hit. That's it. His passive ability heals himself by 50% of the damage taken while under a reflect damage buff, so that is pretty good. Also, he has a 25% chance of increasing the duration of all attackers' debuffs by 1 turn hit while under a reflect damage buff. So this ability is actually very good for trying to provoke, basically taunt the first 2 waves, because he's going to be healing himself if he has reflect damage on. So if you have multiple champions that can do reflect damage, Stout Axeman and somebody else, it would be pretty good. So the last reflect damage champion we have is Felhound. So he's crazy because he has a reflect damage with a continuous heal. So he is like Runic Warder, except I guess he is harder to get because he is Void. And his ability is going to be a 2-turn cooldown, so that is amazing. And he also has a block damage buff on an ally for 1 turn, so that can help if you have a very squishy ally. You can place block damage on them on a 3-turn cooldown. And his basic attack is an AoE. It has a 25% chance of placing decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. So what you can do for the first 2 waves is, if you need help, is actually run him with a stun set if you need to do so. So he's actually worth making very quick and running him with a stun set if you need to, or just make him have high defense because he is defense based and his damage based on defense and attack. But I think it's better to build him with some defense. So Felhound is very, very good for this role. And let's move on to counter. Let's talk about some counter champions. So we're going to go back to dwarves and we're going to talk about Cuddler. So not Cuddler, Cuddler. So his A2 ability plays a counterattack and a 25% increased attack buff on himself for 2 turns. And then he grants an extra turn. I don't really like that he grants himself an extra turn after placing a counterattack on, because that basically makes the counterattack go down by 1. So it's going to be a 1-turn counterattack and 1-turn increased attack. I think that's how it works. Basic attack is double hit, so that is very good. And then he has a 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit if the target is under decreased defense. And his passive He has a 20% chance of placing decreased defense debuff for 2 turns when attacking target is higher defense of this champion. So he has a pretty high chance of placing that decreased defense. And then he has a 20% chance of decreasing the damage taken by 20% when attacked by enemies with higher attack than this champion. So he is pretty solid. But there are better options. Alright, now we got Alder, the guy that nobody even talks about. So he's only here because he plays a counterattack buff on himself for 2 turns and he heals himself by 15%. That is actually pretty good on a 4-turn cooldown. His A2, he plays ally protection on the most injured ally for 2 turns, and then he gives himself an extra turn. And his basic attack just has a provoke on it. So if he has counter and provoke, that's basically executioner, but why not just use executioner? Let's move on to executioner. So executioner is better because he plays the increased defense buff on himself and a counterattack for 3 turns. And then he also has an AoE that decreases the turn meter by 20% and a 50% chance of placing decreased speed. So his AoE is going to help you in the first 2 waves and also help you when you reach the Fire Knight because he has decreased turn meter on it, even though it's 20%, but that 20% will help you out. And he's defense based, so it's damage based on defense. So he's going to give himself a 6% increased defense. And once he gets attacked, he can stun the enemies on the first 2 waves. And he's dealing even more damage. And you can also use him as the aura skill. Increase ally defense in all battles by 17%. Alright, now we're going to talk about Retainer. I think Retainer was already in one of my other episodes because he can decrease turn meter if the target's turn meter is fully depleted, so that's going to help you the first 2 waves. He plays a sleep on the enemies. His A2 ability heals himself by 40% of his max HP and places a counterattack buff on himself for 2 turns. That is actually pretty cool. Self-sustain. And then he has attacks when enemy has a 40% chance of placing decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. It's only a 30% decreased defense, but whatever, right? So he's a pretty good choice. And he is defense-based, damage based on defense. And now we're going to talk about Greybeard. So Greybeard actually does have a counterattack. So his A3, he places a shield buff on himself for 2 turns. And then he has, if you max it out, a 100% chance of placing counterattack buff for 2 turns. And the value of his shield is proportional to his defense. And I'm pretty sure his damage... No, his damage is not based on defense on his A1, but it is on his A2. Which is pretty weird, man. Player even got to fix that. So this is going to be a 4-turn cooldown when maxed out. So it is pretty good. His A2 ability is actually very good for the first 2 waves. It's an AoE that has a 25% chance. If you max it out, it's a 40% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. So you can AoE freeze, and that's going to be on a 3-turn cooldown. So it is very good. His A1 ability can place provoke, and it's a pretty high chance. 50% chance unbooked. If you book it, it's going to be 70% chance. So he's going to help you out with provoking. So if you need to provoke a target, it'll be very good. And then he has a crazy aura skill because you're going to be in this dungeon. You can actually increase your ally defense in dungeons by 30%. That's actually a pretty big one for a rare champion. So Greybeard, definitely a very, very good choice. I actually do have him level 60. And the last champion for this role, the counterattack / reflect damage. He doesn't have reflect damage, but he does have a counterattack. So this guy is actually very, very good. Let's go over his kit. I actually did do a guide on him if you guys want to check it out. His A1 is very good. He covers multiple roles with his A1. He has a 30% chance of placing an extra hit, so he double hits. And then theoretically, this guy can actually, if he keeps proccing these extra hits, it's 30% chance, he can actually take out the shield by himself. But that's going to be very, very rare, the probability of that happening. But why not, right? You automatically have a double hit, and then you have a chance to get multiple hits. So he is crazy. His A2 ability plays the increased speed on himself and a counterattack. And his counterattack, if he counters, he's going to have a chance to proc all those extra hits. So he is crazy, crazy good. And that's going to be on a 4-turn cooldown on this ability. And then his passive ability, he fills his turn meter by 15% on critical hits. So this guy needs to have 100% crit rate. And he fills his turn meter by 50% if he kills an enemy. So that's going to help you out in the first 2 waves. And yeah, this guy is just a beast. One of the most underrated champions in the game. And he is farmable. You can get him from the campaign. We're going to go find out which part of the campaign you can get him from, just so you guys don't have to. Stage 2, so the Sewers of Arnok, you can actually get him. Not Stage 2, I mean the second stage right here. You can get him. So whatever stage you want to do, he has a chance of dropping. So he's one of the miscellaneous drops. So if you need to farm him, you can get him from there. And the last champion I want to talk about, as I said, he's a free-to-play champion because he's part of the daily login rewards for for new players. I think the first 7 days you get him, or is it the second week? I'm talking about Jizzo. There he is. So this guy actually does have a double hit on his A1, so he covers a multi-hitters role. And then he also has a placing a shield buff for 3 turns and a counterattack buff for 2 turns on one ally. So you can pick an ally that has multiple hits and place it on him. And he also has a provoke, and he can also place a continuous heal on himself for 2 turns. So he's self-sufficient. So he's very, very good. If you guys don't have anybody else, use him. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. This is the final episode for all the roles. And then when I make another episode, it's going to be me running the team in Fire Knight. So I'm going to choose from the champions that I listed in all the videos. And if you guys haven't checked out the other videos, make sure you guys do. And if you guys found this video helpful or entertaining anyway, make sure you guys drop a like. And if you guys are new to the channel and you'd like to see things, consider subscribing. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.
I'm Tyrone. I need everybody to subscribe to the homie Ollie Plays. And that's non-negotiable either.